Welcome to the Blackburn End Podcast. And like last week's, this one might be a little bit lighter as Rovers have had a week off, but it is us. You know, we could talk the hind legs off a donkey, as they say. But we're here to right some wrongs, and hopefully Rovers can improve on their 3 points. But there's not been much news, but this has been the headline so far. The fan base is still trying to make sense of that final day of the transfer window. Makhtar Gueye, not Gueye apparently, is still being linked with a move away. The free transfer window is open as Craig Dawson is linked with a move. Jordan Rhodes retires and straight away links up with Gusted as loan manager. And Rovers now travel south to play Watford. Would it be another Hedges wonder goal? I know, I hope so. But Mark, what's your week look like? Have you watched any England games? If there's anything interesting happened?
Very little, which I'm quite glad about, if I'm being perfectly honest, Mike. I have a few people noticed I was a little bit agitated last week. So I've had a calmer week myself. There's been no Rovers to unsettle me. Jordan Rhodes is back at Ewood. I'd rather he was up front, but anyway, I'm sure we'll get into that one.
We will. It was quite funny, the last video, because obviously we talked loads and we got mixed feedback. There was people telling us we were far too negative. People were saying we're far too positive. And we try and be balanced. You know, we have these opinions and we make sure that our opinions are exactly what we believe they are. We're not trying to trigger anyone. But yeah, we had some mixed reviews last week.
Yeah, it was, nearly 5,000 views, wasn't it? We've had a little look at the analytics of it, and yeah, some Wrexham fans, but majority were Rovers fans. Nice to see the subscribers watching the videos, but also still about 500 people watching the video generally that aren't subscribed. Come on, pull your fingers out. But yeah, it was a very raw pod, wasn't it? I mean, it was the day after the window shut. If we'd have done it as the window shut, it would have been even more negative, I think. But it's just, the club means a lot to us. We're emotional people. So you're going to get our raw emotion. We try and be as measured as we can be. And I think we'll be even more measured this week, a week on. But my opinions haven't changed too much, I'm being perfectly honest.
I was just about to say that. I feel like we were raw and we were a little bit upset about that final day. And I think it was the final day that really triggered us, because we were pretty settled as a squad and we felt like we'd got that right balance. And just taking, and people were pointing out saying, why does one player make a difference? Well, we obviously feel like that one player was key to what we were trying to do defensively. And like you rightly said about Leonard leaving, you know, the club said they wanted to invest in youth and give us a chance, and then they kind of go against it by then letting one of them go. So yeah, it was raw, but I think we stand by it. But this time we now actually have a game to talk about, and it's going to be really interesting because they've now had this week off. They travel to Watford, which has been a place where we've scored a lovely wonder goal off my man Ryan Hedges. How important is this game now after having this week that they've all been together, that we actually come out and get a good performance?
Yeah, well, there's been a few away, I suppose, isn't there, in internationals, more than usual. But I think 4 games in the league table, you're probably not looking at it too much unless you're top of the league. But I think you now look at this next batch of fixtures, and actually, if you're still knocking around 20th, that's probably going to be where you'll be for a good period of time. So we've had 3 defeats, 1 win. It's got to change. It's got to change quickly. And Watford's not an easy place to go by any stretch.
No, they've lost a game, they've won a game, and they've drawn 2. We're going to be leaving there to go and play Ipswich, and I know Ipswich haven't had the greatest start, but you've got to expect that they're going to start bouncing back at some point. So I do actually think this is quite an important game. We've said it before. We've come out of international breaks with poor form, poor results leading into it, and then we've come out and we've seemed to sort ourselves out a little bit. We have had some players on international duty that we could have done around the club, some of the newer players. But he's got an opportunity to really get the guys going. And I just, for me now, I need to start seeing some points. So whilst I do want to see a good performance, I'll take a scrappy draw right now, just something to stop the rot and something for us to hang our hat on and say, right, we've got something, let's move on. And it's the old thing of taking it a game at a time. When you've had a start like we've had, we need to start seeing some positive results now. And I wanted to see some great performances, but great performances with some points. Now we need some points.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, you look at Watford, like you said, they've won one, drawn two, lost one, 5 goals for, 5 goals against. Interestingly, goals wise, we've conceded 5 the same, and we've scored 1 less. It's just we stuck 3 of them in at Hull and have only scored 1 goal in the other 3 games. Yeah, I think for a period of time now, yes, performances are important, and early on in the season, possibly more so in some ways. You want to see how you're going to play. You need to see the manager's style been implemented. I remember back this time last year under Eustace, obviously he'd done a job to keep us up the season before, and then we were looking at his start to the season to see, well, what's the football going to be like? Because for those last 10 games or so that he took charge, it was very much do not lose. And I was impressed with the football. I think for Ismaël, you've got to give him a bit of a break. The football at Hull was tremendous, but it's not been as settled a period of time as he probably would have liked. And I think given all the controversy, let's go with, around the club at this moment in time, it needs some points. It needs some victories. And I dread to think if we get another 4 games down the line and we've only got 3 more points, you start to worry about the atmosphere around the ground and what that does to the players, and it snowballs. So I think right now it's very much needed that we need to get some points on the board.
Yeah, I've been desperate to see positives in performances, something which I can look at and understand the direction that we're going in and say, you know what, if we keep playing this way, we're going to get the results. And there has been an element of that so far. But when you're now coming 5, 6, 7 games into the season, you do want to see something. If that's a scrappy result here or there, obviously the dream is that we go out and we absolutely outplay and we play some amazing football. We go and win 3-0 like we did against Hull, and we're all positive again, and we're calling the podcast Blackburn going to get promoted again, and having people get triggered by that. But I don't think that when you make this many changes in a squad, it's going to be taking them a while to settle in and get themselves ready. It's going to be interesting with these new signings because who's actually going to be ready to play. And we're going to talk about who we think our best 11 is going to be. But right now, I can't see there being a hell of a lot of changes other than that at that centre-back position.
Yeah. Obviously, Lewis Miller's been away with Australia as well, so you've got to think he's got a role to play, whether it's just as cover at centre-half. Hayden Carter's had another 2 weeks training, so you would imagine he's ready. So for me, I think he's going to step in. Obviously, McGocklin's out, suspended for this game, so you would imagine it probably will pick itself. It's a shame they've not had Toth there. He's obviously been on international duty as well, so they've not been able to do that work together. But to be fair, Wharton, Carter and Toth have all been there since early on in pre-season, Alabiosu and Ribeiro as well. So it's not like we've just signed a centre-half and he's not been able to play with his teammates at all. So I'm a little bit more comfortable about that. But I think the team picks itself this weekend, really.
Yeah, I agree. You've got the defensive unit there. He's just adding that one piece in, and it's whether they move Miller to centre half, which is something that has been discussed, or you have got your Whartons that can step in. I mean, we discussed the fact that we thought Wharton would probably play way more than we thought he would, after thinking that he would be out the door. It just shows where football's gone. And whilst we are being linked to some free transfers, they're probably not going to be here in time to start the game, because the ones we're being linked to aren't exactly ones that would walk straight into the first team. Well, I hope they wouldn't. But we are going to be playing a team that is quite tough, and they do like to put the ball in the box. They do like to be nice and strong. So it is a slight concern for me going forwards. Can you see many changes going forward from what we've seen tactically or personnel?
I think the only decisions he's got to make really are Tavares, I think, was very poor in the last game. I thought the game bypassed him. Now, he hasn't obviously been away, so they've had a couple of weeks to work with him. He has been short of fitness. He had that, he started, was it his first pre-season training session? He rolled his ankle. So then he missed a big chunk of pre-season. So that may well have helped him. Only they can decide that. Or does he drop Cantwell in? Does he play Gardner Hickman? You know, there's some decisions to potentially be made alongside Tronstad. But I think the only thing I can really foresee, I think it'll be Tavares, I think it'll be Tronstad, it'll be Cantwell in the 10. I think his decisions are who plays out wide. I think Cardboard has been away with Sierra Leone. He's playing tomorrow. So he's going to arrive back late. He's not exactly set the world on fire when he started games. I think he has much more impact away from home, albeit that assist at Hull was a highlight. I think Murray has shown something in those 25 minutes that I think he's a 28-year-old. We've talked about he's somebody who we paid for us relatively decent money. He's an experienced player. He's somebody who's got to come in and make an impact. So we should have no qualms about starting him. Hedges, I think, will probably start. I do think it will be Hedges one side, Murray the other. It depends which way around, and Ohashi up front.
Yeah, I can see that. Like you say, Murray is someone that's showing that quality, and he's one of the new signings that could probably come in and do a job from the off. Good Johnson, he's been away on international duty, hasn't he? He's been off. He'll most likely be on the bench. I do want to see him. When you sign a striker, there's something exciting about signing a striker. You want to see what they're like. We've had it with all the strikers that we've signed over the previous couple of years, and we've spoken about it. You get yourself all warm inside and giddy, thinking about that new striker. Is he going to come in and get the goal? And obviously, the dream's going to be that he has a debut to remember.
Absolutely. I mean, so for those who don't know, he's played in the 5-0 win over Azerbaijan on Friday. Didn't score. Started the game though. Played about 60-odd minutes, I think. And he's playing, as we record this on Monday night, he's playing tomorrow night away in France. So I'm not sure if you can get that in England. Hopefully we can. But it'd be nice to have a look at him against some good opposition and see what he's like. But yeah, I think it'll be a place on the bench for him. But I think we've all been very frustrated with Makhtar Gueye. We're calling him Gay now, Makhtar Gueye. I think with his impact off the bench. So let's. I'm not going into the offsides, but I think we need Good Johnson to come off the bench and look like he's got something, look like he can make an impact. Otherwise, yeah, I fear for us a little bit. But he's not trained with the team, has he? He's been almost straight away. He's dropped his bags at Brockhull and then almost straight away gone off to Iceland and then obviously to France. So I think it'll be a place on the bench, but does that matter sometimes for a striker? He's obviously fit, he's ready to go. Yeah, I think sometimes the unknown could help you as a striker. I think it's more essential when you are a defender and you've got to be working alongside somebody else in sort of positioning. I think as a striker, yeah, you can argue that you need to know where the runs they're going to make, but I think off the bench, you can make a bit of an impact. People are putting balls into the box. You can put yourself about. You can cause a bit of nuisance, and hopefully the opposition don't really know too much about you.
No, and we haven't really gone into him in too much detail. But when you've got a player that's cost you, like you say, a relatively high amount for what we normally pay, that's playing international football, that's playing against countries like France and so on, the club obviously rate him highly. He's obviously got something about him. He's someone that hopefully will get us goals. If he comes on and he doesn't light it up, I just don't want us to start seeing on social media about people saying, "Oh, what have we bought here? We've got another donkey. I prefer Gay. I prefer Sam Gallagher. Bring back Sammy G, and all of this." We have got to back the lads, and hopefully we do get a result. But I do think this one's going to be about digging deep and scrapping something out, because he can't make too many changes right now, and if we can get some sort of clean sheet or only concede one, considering we're going to be putting someone in at centre back that hasn't necessarily played there all season, I'll take that. I just hope that in that final third we just get a little bit more clinical. That's what I want to see now. Just more clinical. Not necessarily. I mean, was it they used to say about Andy Cole, didn't they? He'd score one every 5 clear-cut chances he got. I just want to see something in the final third where I'm looking at it and saying, do you know what? I understand what he was trying to do there, and we start to take some chances. And they have tried to get people there, and hopefully it's Good Johnson. Hopefully it's Marishta. We haven't seen much of Denev. Is he going to come in and do something? We might see something completely different this game, but as far I just can't see us making too many changes in that final third.
No, I don't think so. That's not to say that won't come in upcoming weeks. We've got different games coming, haven't we? I think Watford are in and around us at the moment. Our form against them has been, I think they've won one, we've won one, they've drawn one in the last couple of games away at their place. Albeit Hull, I expect them to struggle, but we went there and absolutely dominated the game, and we've lost both at home. So I think going away from home is not something we should be concerned about. I think it's something that we can look at and think, do you know what? It's there for us. And given them, we've got Ipswich coming up. We're likely to be under the cosh a bit more. It's a completely different game. Maybe that is a game for Good Johnson, who seems a bit bigger than UK. Maybe he can hold the ball up better. But I think in this game, I think Murray will be the one that will start. I think he'll be the one that gives us something. And then Cogbo and Good Johnson off the bench. Great. At least you're looking to the bench and you've got different options there.
Yeah, there's a worry in that centre mid for me. If we've got any kind of injuries, because like you say, Tavares hasn't started the best. He's shown little bits where I can see he's got a little bit of vision, a little bit of quality, good size. But like what we've said previously, midfield is a very difficult position to play. I think from an outfielder point of view, I think it's probably the most difficult position to kind of just come in and do your job straight away. I think it is one where you do need to settle in. And if he does play and has another poor game, there's going to be people on his back. But there are qualities there. But I would start Tronstad. But we haven't seen Forshaw. Obviously, he's just coming to, I think, to just have to make up the numbers.
Well, he's not even back training, I don't think, yet.
No.
Certainly not with the team.
No, so from a midfield point of view, who can really partner Tronstad right now in that centre mid? Would you drop Cantwell further back?
I would consider it, but I think because then you're limited in the number 10 role. I mean, Tyjon, he scored, hasn't he, for England under 18s, but he's not been with the squad either. Maybe that's something you can look at further down the line, get some control in the midfield, play him there, get him on the ball a bit more, but he was so good against Hull in that 10 position. Baradzi's obviously not fit yet. I mean, we've announced our 23-man squad as we've announced, but Baradzi's in it, so they're obviously expecting him or hoping he will play before January, but then again, it's not like we were pushing people off the squad list like we were when we got rid of Sigurdsson. So maybe it's just he's on there in hope. Taylor Gardner-Hitman, could he come in and start? Maybe. I mean, Ismail knows him, doesn't he? So that's an advantage for him. And for Valérien, it's not like he's brand new to the situation. He will have had 2 weeks training with them. He's up to championship speed. Maybe that is the other option. I've not seen enough of him to comment on that right now, but that wouldn't overly surprise me.
Now, I've heard loads of good things about him. But again, looking back at how JRC was, where you just needed him to pin down a position, he's one of these players that does need to pin down a position. I mean, let's move into this starting 11. I'm looking at the squad right now, and it is quite scary. The lack of depth we've still got. What would you say was our best centre back pairing right now?
Obviously, at weekend he's not going to be fit, but I think having seen McLaughlin, it's got to be McLaughlin on that left-hand side. I'm not a fan of playing two left footers, so for me, it should be Hayden Carter. And I think there is an argument, as I said last week, there's an argument to say that even when Dom Hyam was at the club, Hayden Carter's big issue for me is that he's not been reliable enough in terms of fitness. He seems to get injuries where he's out for 2 or 3 months, once or twice a season. He's getting to 20. Is he 25 now? He's getting to an age for me where he should be the main man at centre half. That should be Carter and another. And I think we're in a position where we need him to be. So I would say Carter and McLaughlin from what I've seen, but it's going to have to be Carter and Wharton, I think, for me at weekend. Where are you going with it?
Yeah, well, McLaughlin isn't someone that's necessarily going to get himself sent off every week. It's not like a Grant Hanley where I was just at my heart in my mouth every time the ball was going through. So to be suspended, it's something that was hopefully out of the blue. Ideally, it's going to be McLaughlin and Carter because Carter, like you said, very talented player. If we can keep him on the pitch, great. So they will be hopefully the starters. Is Carter going to be fit enough to start this weekend?
I think he should be. He's had at least 2 under-21s games, probably had a behind closed doors games. And the 221 games were 2 weeks ago. So he's had the full international break as well to have a run at it. So I think he should be, yeah.
So like I say, this weekend it will probably be Carter and Wharton. I think going forward, McLaughlin's going to be an absolute shoe-in every single week. He's the new Dom Hyam for us, of just starting every game that he's fit or not banned. I would like to see Carter next to him. What's interesting is last season when Carter was playing, he seemed to really bomb forwards quite a lot. You'd see him going, taking these little jinking runs, and whether he was told to, I don't know. But he seemed to find himself going on these runs. But I think if we're playing quite expansive football, it's Carter. I think if we want to go off talent, it's probably Carter. But if we're going for like a no-nonsense, just get in position, get rid, I'm not adverse to Scott Wharton playing. The only thing that ever really got me frustrated with Scott Wharton is when he tried to do too much and he just didn't, his talent, well, he ran out of talent, basically. So when the ball was coming through to him, he tried to take a touch. It was a terrible touch. He was giving it away. So if it's a no-nonsense thing, I think McLaughlin and Wharton could strike up quite a nice pairing. But ideally, if this was a Football Manager game, I would be playing McLaughlin and Carter next to each other. Right back, you've got Ali Biosu and Lewis Miller. Going forward this year, who would you have as your right back? For me, it's probably Ali Biosu. I think he's just shifted it for me. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, coming into the season, from the little I knew about them, and then after the West Brom game, for me, it was the other way around. But I think having seen Alabiosu, having seen his physicality going forward and defensively, his ability to recover, I think the start he's made at the club, particularly after, I thought he did okay at West Brom, but particularly after that, I think he's surprised me. I think he's given us he's different to Callum Britton. He's given us a different dimension down that side, though. And I think with him and Carter, you've got some pace there. So Alabiosu is going to pinch that for me. I do think there's potentially a case for, if you were going more defensively, that maybe Miller would get the shout. But when we saw Alabiosu against Birmingham and we were pretty much a flat back 4, I thought he had a really good game as well. So that was the concern, wasn't it? It was former clubs fans were sort of saying he's not great if he gets in that defensive right back one-on-one position. He's more of a wing back or a third centre half, right centre half. I thought he did a great job in that Birmingham game. He had to concentrate, had to have good positioning. So I have no qualms about it. For me, I think he's been a real plus so far.
Yeah, and Miller's the interesting one because he is built like a centre back as well. He's got that size and strength. He seems like he's got quite a bit of um, positional awareness, I'd maybe say. We know my thoughts on the SPL and him coming from the SPL, but maybe he is someone that could go into that centre back role. I wouldn't be adverse to watching him in a game coming into that role.
Yeah, I mean, he did it against Bradford, of course, didn't he? And that didn't go tremendously well. I don't think it was any major fault of his. I do think there's a case for it, which sounds ridiculous when you lose a centre half and you're talking about being short. I do think there's a case for us at some time, maybe going 3 at the back. I think we've got the wing backs there in Alabiosu. Hedges can do a job at wing back. Dinev definitely could do a job at wing back. You could play Pickering or Ribeiro there at a push. But I think we've got 2 left footers in McLaughlin and Wharton. I think you could then play Wharton in the middle, maybe, if you really wanted. But I think Ribeiro and Pickering are equally comfortable on that left-hand side of the defence. So I do think actually it might not be the way he wants to play, but I think that might suit us at some stage better. And it allows us to potentially go 3 in the middle of the park as well, which has not been an area we've dominated other than the Hull game. So if that's becoming an issue, I think I'd like to think they've been having a look at that in training, but that's, way down the line.
Yeah, it's horses for courses. If the players are dictating, the tactics, you've just got to go with it. You can't just force players to be playing in a position that they're not used to. You're just going to send yourself out to lose.
Yeah, and I think if you feel you're not good enough defensively to have 2 centre halves, then you go with the 3. And that's particularly if we got an injury to Carter or Wharton or both, then it would have to be the 3 for me.
But like you say, it's not like we've conceded a hell of a lot compared to others.
No,
I mean, you've got Sheffield United conceded 7, Sheff Wednesday 9, Oxford 7, Derby 11, Ipswich the same as us with 5, QPR 11, Hull 9. It's not like defensively we've made errors, but it's not like defensively it's been a major issue. The issue is now we've taken a key parcel of that defence out.
Yep.
So now moving forward, we've now got to look at what the best option is. And I think you're right. I think he could change tactics. I don't think he wants to.
No.
But he might be forced to just based on the pieces he's got.
Yeah, some point down the line, I think he'd be daft not to look at it if it's not working. I think you're absolutely right. So far, we've only conceded 5. And I think that's one of the big frustrations I had with Hyam going, was that actually going into the season, we didn't really know what would come of the season, but we suspected we might be a bit blunt up front, and therefore we needed to be solid at the back. And I was really, really peed off last week because I thought, do you know what? We've got a real solid base there, which is giving us almost the get out of jail free card that we might only need to get 1 goal in a game. I could see us keeping clean sheets. And that's partly because Dom Hyam plays 50 games consecutively.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we're frustrated is because we actually felt like we'd upgraded the position with McLaughlin. Then we'd lost Britton, but actually Ali Biossi would come in and not done a terrible job replacing him. Okay, is he the level of Callum Britton? Probably not, but he wasn't too bad. Left back, we was quite happy about, and we will talk about that now. But then you had Tote behind them doing his thing, and it's like, well, hang on. The one thing we've been moaning about, and we finally sorted it, and then we're like, do you know what? Sod it, we'll just break this up now and make this an issue. And it's so frustrating. So it is a worry, that centre-back position now without Hyam. But left back is 2 players now that we've said all along we'd be happy with. If they're both fully fit, who are you rolling with?
I've said all along I think Pickering just edges it. But Ribeiro, up until the last game, has never really put a foot wrong. And he wasn't terrible the last game, and he wasn't on his own. I just thought for him, he's been, even when everyone else around him maybe has dropped to a 6 occasionally or a 5 or had 9 out of 10s. He's just pretty much stayed at a 7, and he just dipped below that for probably the first time. And Pickering's very similar. I just think Pickering's got a little bit more about him, but I'm not upset if either of them's on the team sheet. And I think as a unit, if you include Toth in it, I actually thought individually probably not, but as a unit, I felt potentially we were stronger than last year, including Toth. But we'll have to judge that again now, I think.
And we've got Taylor Gardner-Hickman as well coming into the mix. He can play a couple of positions in defence as well. We don't know where he will be, but I agree with you. Again, to go back to that Football Manager thing, if I was playing Football Manager, I'd be playing Pickering over Ribeiro. I think he's given us quite a lot over the years. There's a lot to his game. He's younger. I do feel like Pickering would be the one, but again, it's a fitness thing. But it's not a position of concern because, like you say, I don't mind which one plays. No. Now moving into centre mid, now we have positions of concern because you've got Tronstad, who's the obvious one in the centre. I would have thought going forward we're going to be sticking with Tavares, but then you have got names like Forshaw, you've got Montgomery, Henriksen, Baraggi. These are players that can play that position, but who's if you had a depth chart, who's coming in over which one? Because I would have thought Montgomery's probably the one top of the list right now to come in and replace each one of them.
I think, judging by the fees that they've reportedly paid, they're expecting Tavares and Baraggi to be probably the future of the centre of midfield, but not right now. But I think we're in a position where we almost need Baraggi to get fit and be a certain starter. I think Gardner-Hickman could find himself along Tronstad, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think if that's the position that he's going to be coming and taking up, I think Tavares he's shown that he can pick a pass. He shows he's neat and tidy on the ball. But for me, he's just showing that the game can pass him by. And occasionally that can happen with Tronstad. I might be being harsh because you look at Tronstad and Travis last year when they came back from that injury for 5 or 6 games, they were a shadow of themselves, the pair of them. Yeah. So maybe that's all it is with him. He did have 4 or 5 weeks out of pre-season. You hear footballers all the time talk about how important pre-season is, and Campbell, I think we're seeing the benefit. I know he had a knock late on in pre-season, but I think we're seeing the benefit of him having a pre-season. So hopefully he's had 4 games, roughly, Tavares. He's had a good 2 weeks run at it now that he could do some really good work in that first week, fitness-wise, and then get some tactical work. Maybe, actually, I think we need one of them to come and perform. I don't think we don't know what to expect from them, but I think we need one of those, Gardner-Hickman. I'll still put Tavares in it, and Baraggi to come and go, do you know what, that's my shirt, and I'm the one next to Tronstad.
Yeah, and we've still got Jake. Has Jake Garrett been listed?
Jake Garrett. So Jake Garrett has had an operation. He's got a lengthy. He won't be here playing this season. He's not going to be part
of it, is he? It's interesting because I'm writing down as we're talking the kind of depth chart, and we've got players there that can play. It's just now the quality. So, like we said, Tronstad and Tavares will probably be the ones going forward in the immediate future. Baraggi is someone that looks very exciting based on the Instagram reels and YouTube videos that we see him. But then, like you say, you've got Gardner-Hickman that can play there. Montgomery can play there. Henriksen's not been bought just to be on the bench all the time. Not to mention Forshaw's someone that can step in. So we do actually have bodies there, but it's the quality that now I'm concerned about there, because the players that we're talking about, so Tronstad, we know what we're going to get. Whether he's going to be out the door eventually, we don't know. But we know what we're going to get from Tronstad. Tavares, you would have thought he's going to settle and be a player for us that's better than what he's shown so far. But then everyone else, there's a question mark here or there. So Baraji is going to be fitness. Then it's going to be once he is fit, how long is it going to take him to adjust to the league? Is he going to show the qualities he needs? So he's going to be someone that may show the odd thing now and again, but generally, probably by the end of the season, we're not going to see him at his full pomp. Same with Henriksen. Montgomery, you said that centre mid was always his positive position. It was the one, so it's going to be interesting with him. And Forshaw, with all due respect, he's, how old is he? 33. He could come in and do a job, but is he going to do one? We don't know. So there's a question mark kind of everywhere. But I do want to see Gardner Hickman play there and see what he does. But I mean, he's listed as right back everywhere else I see him.
Yeah. I mean, he played right back for a spell mainly, didn't he, at West Brom? And you would suspect that him coming through the door, albeit Ismail's comments around after the Bradford game, seemed to point to Michalski, Montgomery, Tyjon, him not feeling they were ready yet. So I think he probably wanted to bring a midfielder in anyway. But I think if you look at just the pure timing of Hyam going out the door, it would point to Miller being the backup centre half, Alabiosu being right back, and then one of Montgomery or Gardner Hickman then covering at right back. So maybe that's right. I think this weekend will tell us a lot. He knows Gardner Hickman. I think he'd have no qualms about putting him in. Tavares has not exactly grabbed the shirt, so it will tell me an awful lot this weekend, really. I think it's up in the air for the pair of them.
And Cantwell's going to be the one sitting just in front of them, the new skipper. You would have thought that if he's fit, he plays in the most part. Who supports in that number 10 if he doesn't play?
Well, you've got to put Tyjon's hat in the ring because that's where he seems to be playing under Ismail. But I think Henriksen is the heir apparent. I think he's the one that they foresee taking over from him in 12 months' time. And he right now is playing second fiddle, getting used to the league, getting used to the club with a view to taking over, I think, probably next season. But so I think if Cantwell's not fit, Cantwell's not playing, Cantwell's not firing, you'll probably find him there. But I do think that all depends as well on Gudjohnsen. If Gudjohnsen comes in and he's firing, then it probably means Ohashi will be the backup in real terms.
Yeah, I was just about to say about Ohashi. It's something that we've spoken about in the past, and I do think his energy does suit that number 10 role. He has got a bit of creativeness about him. He's got a bit of energy. He's willing to press. The Gudjohnsen thing is the element now that if he does come in and starts firing, you do want Ohashi on the pitch, but you also want Cantwell on the pitch. And it's going to be a pleasant headache to have, but it's does Cantwell then move off to the left, which is somewhere where he's played quite a lot. So then you could move him across the left, but then you've gone and got Marishta to play there. So it seems like there could be some positive headaches for Ismail eventually.
Yeah, I mean, he's talked about Marishta, hasn't he? And said that he can also play the number 10 role. He can play the right-hand side of midfield as well. So he came on, obviously, on the left last time out. I think this weekend's going to tell us, as much as we've not got Baraji fit, Forshaw's been injured since the start of pre-season, so he's not. Them two, I'm almost ruling out until, if we see them before Christmas, I'd be surprised. Garrett, the season. I think the rest of them, these next 3 or 4 games will tell us an awful lot about where they sit in the pecking order and in terms of where Ismail sees their position. So if Gardner Hickman starts in midfield, I think he sees that as his starting position and his backup for anywhere else. If he doesn't, then maybe not. Marishta, I think he will start at weekend. That could be any one of those, almost back the 3 behind the number 9. You could even see a world where he drops Cantwell back into next to Tronstad then and plays Marishta, Carbo and Hedges. I just think there's a lot of unknowns right now, and I think it's yeah, it's because we've some options, but I think it's because nobody's grabbing that shirt and nobody's standing out. I think you've got nailed on starters right now. I would say a Toth. I think probably McGottcombe when he gets back fit. I think Carter by proxy. Alibiosu, Tronstad, Campbell, and probably Ohashi. And I think the rest are performance related. Now everybody is to an extent, but I think the rest could almost, you have one bad game, right, out you come. Yeah.
Yeah, the wing positions are the headache as well. I mean, there's lots of headaches really if we're digging deep, but you've got players that tend to jump from wing to wing, like your Hedges and your Cargbo, that tend to have shown benefits and weaknesses on both sides. Marista's come to play. You don't spend that money on someone that's got this experience. Given one of the, has he got one of the SC slots as well? Yeah, he has. So you don't bring a player in like that that's fit, ready to go, and not playing. So you would have thought he's going to be there. I'm worried about Dinev. He seems to be dropping down the pecking order. So really, you would have thought he's your third choice left back. Now he's becoming second stroke third choice left winger. It's a shame, but it is a bit of a strange one now. It's like they've gone out and got him, and then they've found better options as they've gone along. It's like they've gone shopping in one, and they've gone down aisle one, put it in the trolley, and then by the time they got to the last aisle, they've realised they've got better options, but they're not taking him out the trolley. So it's one of these. So do you think there's a place where we're going to see Dinev much?
I think there is a little bit with Dinev that his team had got relegated, haven't they? And I think I'm right in saying that if it's after a certain date, or certainly if the season starts, the league that him and Alibiosu dropped into, now Alibiosu's obviously had his time in England, so it's different for him. But for Dinev, the points that he would get to get a work permit wouldn't have been there once they'd been officially relegated or he'd played a game or whatever. So I actually think which is what happened with Marista. So I think there is an element where they have gone, right, do we think we want him? Okay, let's go and do it. He looks to me like he could do a job there. I just don't think you can have him and Hedges on either wing. I think one or the other. And I think if Hedges went and got a knock, which we know is not always the most reliable fitness-wise, I think there could be a role for him to play because listen, we all want to see it in some ways, but Marista one side, Carbo the other, Campbell, it's a little bit gung-ho. So I do think Ismaël would probably prefer to have a Dinev or a Hedges. I just think right now Hedges is ahead of him.
I do, and I like Hedges. I think there's a lot of his game that is beneficial, but I also think Hedges is someone really good coming off the bench at certain points of the game rather than starting. I think if Dinev hadn't got that knock, I think he would have got more opportunities to play, and if he'd had the same amount of minutes on the pitch that Hedges had, I just get this feeling people would be a lot more excited about Dinev. So we've talked about his positioning and his pace and his timing of his runs. There seems to be an element of him that I do quite like, but I am concerned that his options are dropping. So his chances of playing are dropping down a little bit. And then because he's not someone we could put on the right wing, he doesn't look like he's got the intelligence to cut in. So similar to what you said about Cargbo when he plays, he's not really got that intelligence. So when we're now looking about the right wing, who there now is really grabbing that spot, and you're saying, do you know what, that is my right winger. Oh, can you hear me? We seem to have a little bit of a technical issue from Mark here. I'm not sure he can hear me, so I'm going to carry on talking.
There we go. I can hear you.
Oh, there we go. We're back now. We'll see, we would edit this, but you want it raw. You want to know what we're actually going with. So we've just talked about the left wing. We're saying Marishta is probably going to be the one there. Right wing now. You've discussed in the past how my mate Augustus isn't exactly the best cutting inside. We've seen a couple of chances that he's had, and he's obviously got something about him physically that can get him into positions, but then the mental side seems to then desert him a little bit. Who's your starting right winger right now?
I think I'd have Marishta and Hedges as my wingers, whichever way around. I think what I talked about with Cardboard when he was on the left was when he cuts inside, your delivery, if you're checking back, your delivery or your finishing's got to be on point. You've less room for error. I think we need to simplify the game for him. So I'd suggested playing him on the right, thinking more of he knocks the ball, he beats his defender for pace, he whips it across. The problem you've got on the right-hand side is Alabios, who plays so far forward by design that actually he ends up coming inside and he's reliant more on his touch and intricate passes, and that doesn't suit him either. So what I think you have to do with Carbo, if you're going to keep playing Alabioso in this style, which they appear to be doing, and they did it with Britain before him, and I think when you've got Ribeiro and Pickering, you'd have to probably play Dinev at left back to switch that around and have the left back further forward. They're not going to seemingly do that. So I think the left wing is the one who can play further forward. So I think you go and simplify Carbo's game. And actually, I think that's probably on the left-hand side. And I think you simplify it for him. You take the choices away. You, like we did with Adam Armstrong, you just basically say to him, play on where the right back should be, and you run towards the penalty spot and just make that diagonal run, and we will play the ball in. He will be offside a lot, as Armstrong was, particularly in those early days. He will be frustrating as hell. But if he gets in, they're not stopping him. They're not catching him. So I do think that's how we get the best out of him. I do think, though, as well, at the same time, that's probably from the 60th minute onwards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the team now, and we haven't spoken about the strikers yet, but we'll touch on that a little bit. I want Tijon to work out. He's a young lad. He's obviously got a lot of talent.
Absolutely.
I'd love to see him start playing now. But let's assume he's not ready. I can really see a world in which Cantwell goes on the left-hand side.
Yep.
Ohashi drops into the centre of that middle wing three. So you got your wingers and then Ohashi in that number 10. Murray on the right and Good Johnson up front. I could really see a world in that, because as much as I do love Hedges, the fact that he's a starter kind of scares me a little bit, because I'm not sure he's that level, in my opinion. There was a time where I thought he was, but he's not developed to the same level. And like you say, there's always that injury crisis. I do think there's a world in which we can see us trying to shoehorn in the most talented players on the pitch, and that is for me Cantwell on the left, Ohashi in the number 10, and Murray on the right.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that gives you potentially more goals. It gives you a bit more quality going forward. I think it does potentially mean that we become very narrow and we're relying on Alabiosu for our width. And he's shown, for all his qualities he has shown, his delivery and his final ball isn't at the same level as some of his other qualities, let's just say, quite yet. But I can see it, absolutely. I think you might need a bit more from your left back then, and then it might, yeah.
You could have Nev left back bombing forward with Alabiosu.
Yeah. And then, but then Alabiosu's that, yeah. Yeah, I think you can see where that would happen. And if
you're shoehorning players in, aren't you?
You are. Not, and I think
Campbell's best position is going to be in that number 10.
Yeah,
and
is.
You know, here with what I've just speculated there, that is making sure that you've got two of our best players, which is Cantwell and Ohashi, on the pitch at the same time. And this isn't Football Manager. It's not easy to do this, but that would be, if I was to shoehorn them in, that's probably the way I would put our best players on the pitch at the same time.
Yeah, I just I'm not sure about Ohashi in the number 10. I just don't think I think he's got the qualities to do it and he's got the attributes to it. I've yet to see him actually do it. I think sometimes he ends up really deep. I think in theory, because he's got the energy, he's got the ability to press, it could give you almost two up front, isn't it, really? But it never quite seems to do. I think what this is telling us when we look at our forward line is that we like Ohashi. He's not playing between the lines enough for me. He's not playing far enough forward for me. But I think I'm certainly concerned about the amount of goals that's in this team. And I think we are needing Gudjohnsen to come and make a real impact.
Well, let's move on to the strikers. So let's assume Gudjohnsen ends up becoming the number one. Ohashi would be the number two in that role. You then start thinking about the third striker there, and you've got to say most likely Tijon has to be the person that they're putting there, because if he's staying at Blackburn Rovers, there needs to be some promises to him about where he's going to be playing, and if he's the backup for the number 10 role, he's got to be backup for the striker role as well. And you've got Makhtar Gueye that's being linked with moves away. I can't see where he comes into this now. So the first question to you is, who's your number one striker in the immediate future? Who do you think the number one striker will be going forward? And I know that's a leading question. And then who's your third and fourth?
I think I've not seen Ismaël play Tijon in that number 9 role yet, which concerns me a little bit, because I think that would be where I would have expected him. I think you cannot knock Ohashi off the top spot when you've not seen Gudjohnsen play, certainly not playing the Championship. But I think just by virtue of the fact he's played, 35 international games now, he scored a couple of games ago at Scotland in an international. He's no mug, clearly. I think he will become the main one up front. I think he'll be number 2 already. And I don't think it will take much to oust Ohashi. Not that Ohashi hasn't been doing a job for the team. I just think if he's showing he's got more goal threat, that's what we are clearly lacking from the team. And I think that's where Ohashi may well find himself in that 10 role. I think that's how that world that you described happens, and I can see it. I personally do think Tijon is probably ahead of Gueye, though. I think in the pecking order. Gueye's somebody who I think you have to build your team around, or you certainly have to play to his strengths. He's not somebody who fits into a style. I'd put this on X the other day. I've absolutely no issue with Makhtar Gueye going out the door this summer. You'd mentioned that really early on. People were saying, no, absolutely not. But he did a decent job for a spell last season, but he was the main man. There was a lot about him, a lot of buzz. We played to his strengths. We are playing a style of football this season, and that's not really to his strength. He's never really shown an impact coming off the bench. He should do. He should be that plan B, that plan C, but he just doesn't. And this season, he's become almost a comedy figure coming off the bench. But it's not funny because we needed him to make an impact. I mean, he's been offside more times than, well, I can't remember the last player that was offside as much. Somebody in the comments, there'll be somebody will point out, and there are players that used to do it. But he's become so frustrating that it's pointless bringing him on. So actually, I'd rather see Tijon come off the bench, if I'm being perfectly honest. And that, again, is where my frustration for Harry Leonard comes on, because I could foresee this. This is not something that surprises me. I thought, actually, if one of them was going to go out the door, it would be Gueye. And I've no issues with him going out the door. My issue will be now, because I think we're short. But as I've just said there, I probably won't be bringing him on. I think Gudjohnsen will be number 2, probably Tijon number 3. So maybe he does go out the door. Yeah.
I'm not adverse to him going. I'm
No.
going to say it. I'm going to say it now. I know that. I mean, we'll talk about this a little bit now, actually, because I think it leads into it nicely. I was going to talk about this in a second, but Makhtar Gueye's not got enough about him to fit into this style, and he doesn't seem willing to change the way he plays or even attempt when he comes on, he went from this really smiley, happy person that everyone wanted to be around to someone that looks pretty much angry to be a footballer at this club right now. And I don't necessarily think it's because of the atmosphere at the club. I just think it's how he's being used and he's not happy. And like you say, you've got to use players as they are. But technically, he's not good enough. He's had plenty of opportunities to show that he is, and he just isn't. And now the energy that he used to bring has gone. So the one thing he was good at and the one thing that we liked is now gone. So what is he now offering? He's not winning headers. The way he times his leaps isn't the best. I think you joked saying that he would be my centre half. I'm not adverse to that, to be honest. Just stick him at the back. I mean, was it Chris Samba was a striker and a centre back as well? Dion Dublin was as well.
Chris Sutton,
Chris Sutton.
It used to be older age. Let's get it back in fashion.
Exactly, but he's not shown enough to me to beat out Ohashi in a 1-to-1 position fight. You go and sign Good Johnson, that, like you say, is no slouch. Tidjane is someone that has a lot of talent. I just think that you've got one position there. You've got 3 players fighting for it. If by absolute sheer unlucky, something unlucky happens where all 3 are injured, I still wouldn't put Gueye in. I'd still go and get someone from the youth team and give them a shot instead. I know that there's a lot of people that love him, and I get it. I've had my moments where I've really fallen in love with his energy, but that's not there right now. And whether he's not being managed as a player from a mental side or whatever, it's not working. And if someone came in and offered our money back for him, I think you snap their hand off. But it sounds like we're going to be making a profit on him. Well, for this player, I'm okay. And I know people say, well, you wasn't happy with us getting money for Hyam and you would have let him walk. Yeah, well, that's different. Hyam was actually offering something on the pitch, and I was willing to take a hit financially because he was offering a football side. Makhtar Gueye, from a football point of view, is not offering anything right now, and I can't see that changing. So as far as I'm concerned, if someone comes in for him, snap their hand off, even if it is a loan, just let him go, and because right now he's not offering for us. So for me, and like I said, it was a leading question earlier, Ohashi is the immediate number 1 striker with Good Johnson backing him up. I think going forward, Good Johnson will take that on, and Ohashi will be the backup or be shoehorned in somewhere else. And for me, Tidjane needs to have some opportunities, because if he's as talented as he looks and as talented as everyone thinks, we now need to start giving him opportunities like we did with your Adam Whartons, to have that opportunity, because he either is going to become a great footballer for us or he's going to make us a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah. Nothing further to add to that, Mark. I think you're 100% spot on.
So I've tried to write down, this is my notes. I don't know if you can actually see, that's my terrible handwriting, I have to say. And centre half is still a worry. It was something you called out a long time ago, but he's now an even probably bigger worry than it ever has been, could we say? What other positions would you say? Is it that centre mid role now?
Yeah. And I'm a little bit conflicted, because I think if you ask me as a team, I'm concerned now because Hyam's gone and I felt like we'd sorted that. However, from what I have seen this season and what I'm going into it, I'm worried about our ability to score goals, and that's not gone away. I think the next few games will tell us an awful lot, whether we're strong enough defensively, whether Good Johnson brings us something, a goal threat, whether Murray does. We've gone and signed 2 players there to directly impact the goal threat. So I think in terms of the team right now, until I see that and think, right, yeah, actually we've added some goal threat, I'm still concerned about our ability to score goals. But positionally, Centre midfield is a massive worry. We've got a large quantity of players there, but I'm yet to see the quality. And that's not because they're not there. That's simply because Baraji's not fit. Tavares, I've yet to see. I've seen some nice touches and glimpses. Yet to see more than that. Gardner Hickman, is he going to be somebody who's going to come in and go, oh my God, he's massively improved us? I don't know. But I think that's the position that I think I couldn't tell you the best two. I'm almost picking Tronstad and Tavares because that's kind of what we've picked.
It's tough. It's very tough. I'd say left back, I think left back, happy. Goalkeeper, happy. Right back, happy enough. Left wing with Murray leading it, happy enough. Striker, I'm going to say I've got faith in Johnson as a signing. We don't know. It's all speculative. I just feel like he's got all the ingredients to be a success at this level. Whether it works out, but I just have a feeling that whilst it's a risky signing to a level, there's a little bit of a lesser risk than what we did when we've gone for your Makhtar Gueyes and your O'Hashes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at with this strike. I'm halfway. If Johnson can just give us some quality with O'Hashi as well, I'm halfway there to being, do you know what? Next window, I don't feel like we need to look at it. That's where I feel like we're going to be. Whereas so going back into it, I think striker, we're halfway there. The number 10 role, we're there. Right wing, slightly concerned. And slightly concerned with centre mid. But I'm very concerned about the centre back. I think that everything else, we've got a blend that could potentially work out. And it's good. Time will tell. Time will tell. But right now I can see where what I'm kind of concerned is centre mid, right wing, but mainly centre back.
Yeah, I think we are not far off square peg round holes situation at centre half, so that has to be the main concern. I think in terms of the striker, I'm in a similar position that we were in when Gueye came in for Gallagher, where I've seen what Gueye can do and I've seen it's not good enough. So for a similar fee that they're talking about Gueye going out the door, similar fee that Gueye came in the door, maybe slightly more for Johnson, but probably in terms of when they'll probably roughly balance themselves out. I'm all right taking a risk and rolling the dice with that one. I think, Pears hasn't been replaced, but he's been put in the squad. He's a backup for Toth. So, albeit I was worried if Pears had gone, just in the fact that we were relying on kids at that stage that were unproven and would, if something happened to Toth, we're not in that situation, whether Pears should have gone or whatever. He's in and around the squad. He's been put in the registration squad. So you would imagine, should, touch wood, something awful, not that I wanted to, touch wood, it doesn't. But, so something happened to Toth, Pears will just step in. And as much as we think he's not great, he's all right as a backup. I think Alabiosu got injured, Miller steps in, or Gardner Hickman, I'm okay. Left back, I'm okay. Centre midfield, I think like there's probably a combination somewhere that does okay. I'm just not sure what it is and whether it is good enough. I think out wide, I think there's something there. I think, we've got a combination of Hedges and another and the creativity. I think there could be a world where Murray and Cardboard start. You could go with Dinev. I think there could be a quality issue out there somewhere. And I think we probably need to look at that. And I think they will do as we go into the summer. I mean, Hedges' contract's up, as there are a few. But centre half, I think, has to be the biggest worry. Centre midfield, I worry about the quality. But centre half, when you have got Hayden Carter who gets injured, hopefully this is his injury for the season. McLaughlin was a backup last year, albeit he started really well. And I'm not worried about him individually. But Watson's been out for 14 months. I just think you're putting them under a lot of pressure. And I think the only way you would fix that is to go 3 at the back. And that's why I was so frustrated last week. I think we had, defensively, I felt we were relatively comfortable. And I think we've put ourselves in a position where we're not comfortable now and we are potentially very vulnerable. And there was no need to do that. But, it's been and gone. I just think my biggest worry is, and we'll find it, the proof will be in the pudding in these next 4 or 5 games, is rather than bringing new signings in and they might do okay, we need 4 or 5 of them to come in and do a good job immediately.
We need them to hit, don't we?
Yeah. Now, could they do? Well, McLaughlin has. Alibiosu has. So if Murray comes and does it, Good Johnson comes and does it, you just need one of Gardner Hickman, Tavares, Baraggi. And then you probably got enough to have an all right season, bed them in and go again. And that's where I'm kind of at. I just think we are going right back to the beginning. We are at a stage now where we need to get some points on the board and make sure it's not a real squeaky bum season.
Well, people put in their comments, what do you think the starting lineup's going to be next week? What do you think it's going to be come the end of the season? Where are you happy about? Where are you not happy about? While you're there, obviously subscribe and share the channel. Help us grow, obviously. But yeah, put down below what you think. We've shared our thoughts. We're not scouts. We don't know what we're talking about. We just like to talk Rovers, and we're speculating our starting lineup, and we've speculated the formation. It could go to 3 at the back. We don't know how we're going to do, but make sure you like and subscribe as well while you're there. Moving forwards, we've had O'Grady Macken out on loan at Oldham and Edmondson go out to Macclesfield. They're the latest news there. We've talked about Makhtar Gueye being linked. Apparently, they're stopping that because I think we haven't got enough depth, but there's still noises around there. Silver Easy, is it Easy or Ezzy? How's he pronounced?
I'm going Eze.
Eze. Okay. Again, put down below. How should this be pronounced? People like to
we
call us
do
out
need, in all seriousness, the players to do it. They are funny videos. Them when you get them, because you'll get some names that obviously you really need it for, and then you get like Adam Morton. But that I think we do need that. One more loan that we haven't mentioned is George Pratt has gone to Chorley on a short-term deal as well.
Yes. So these are obviously players that have been on the cusp that are going out to get some games. So it'd be good to see what happens with them. Talking about the names thing, that's what I love about the NFL. When you watch a game, they come on to the screen when they're literally about to do their first plays, and they come on and they say their names, and it's brilliant. And I think they should do that just for us, so then people can stop calling us out, because I do my research to try and find out how to pronounce names, and apparently they're still wrong. But anyway, here we are.
I think people
we're trying our best.
They love it when they do.
I might start butchering some random ones, because on Rovers chat, people used to say it wasn't Ainsley Pears, it was Piers. But anyway. So anyway, obviously, those are the deals. The rumours coming in is someone that has been mentioned by us as well, is Craig Dawson. When we spoke last week, we went through some of the free transfers of defenders. Craig Dawson was one. Apparently, according to Alan Nixon, it has gone quiet, but there was quite a bit of noise there. Other than that, there's been no other free transfers being linked. Craig Dawson coming in, I wouldn't be adverse to it as long as the wages are right and it works for the club. We've got the space there for it to happen. So it worked with Danny Bart. It could be Craig Dawson could come in and do a job. Do you have any thoughts on Craig Dawson?
I think he has been a very good, experienced centre half. I think last time I saw him, his legs had he was never the quickest, and his legs had gone. But I think if he came in, it'd be more of a McFadzean signing than it would worry me if we were relying on him. I think people have seen the name Craig Dawson and thought, oh, what a great signing. I think that, I wouldn't think he's going to be the answer, but he will give us some depth, and we are very short of it.
Well, 35 years old, he has one cap for Great Britain. So obviously that was part of the Olympic team. He's had a decent career. I think he would show some experience. I think he would add depth. I wouldn't mind him on a short-term deal, just to add a little bit of depth there and a little bit of comfort. But no, it's not exactly. I would have preferred a Dom Hyam to a Craig Dawson. The other news is, as we round off the pod, is Jordan Rhodes. He has retired. He's found himself a new job. He's linking back up with Rudy Gusted as loan manager, which is apparently monitoring player development and supporting recruitment by getting them out on loan and bringing players in. It's a position I've seen on Football Manager, but I've never really understood what it did. But apparently he's qualified to do it.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue. And then I think it was Julian Lescott that talked about it once. And he did it for, I might be wrong if it might not be Julian Lescott. I think it was for Man City, or whoever it was. And what they basically said is their job is to go and monitor, find appropriate clubs for the Euro players. So it's not as much bringing players in on loan, which some people thought they were saying to him, go and find as a striker. I think there is an element to that, but I think the main job really is go and check that Edmondson's okay. When O'Riordan last year, for example, was at Cambridge and he's not playing, talk to them, talk to him, feedback what's going on, go and watch the players. But then there is also an element where we generally send, as most teams do, your young players who are on the, let's say O'Riordan, who's potentially going to come back into your first team next year. Go and have a look at them, but then go and have a look at a 21-year-old that you could potentially sign and say, actually, is he at the level we think he is? Is this one a better option? So having a look at that kind of thing, but then fostering a really good relationship with other clubs. So that's where your recruitment side comes in more than anything, is going and talking to Brighton and making friends with them. And you would imagine Jordan Rhodes is very well-liked character, so I think he'd be very good at that element. And also, he's had some spells, hasn't he, where he's gone places, and as much as it was absolutely unthinkable when he was at us, he couldn't score a goal. So I think Sheffield Wednesday was the main one, but Middlesbrough, it didn't exactly work for him there either. So you'd be able to really lend some experience to those players and say, listen, particularly a striker, obviously, but I think any of the players that are struggling, it doesn't mean it's not right. And I think we've seen that with Conor O'Riordan. People sometimes write players off when they go on loan and say, oh, if he goes on loan, he can't even do it in League Two, League One. It's not always the case. O'Riordan's now getting rave reviews in a two-man centre-half, a two-man defence at centre-half and at right-back. So, yeah.
Well, it's great to have him back at the club. He was an absolute cult hero, stroke legend for us. I mean, his championship record, 123 goals in 381 games and 86 goals in 186 at League One level. I mean, career stats-wise, 244 goals in 664 appearances. I mean, what a strike rate that is. And there was people that used to say, you know, all he did was score goals. Well, maybe so, but he was bloody good at it.
Yeah, and it's a nice dilemma to have. I think we'd like that now, wouldn't we? You could imagine, I don't think this is going to be the case, but let's say Good Johnson was the one who came and he did absolutely sod all but scored every week, and Ohashi was doing more for the team. Well, get the man who scores the goals, because that's the hardest thing to be doing in football. So, I mean, you probably think it's clean sheets, Mike, but scoring goals is the hardest thing to do in football. I love the Michael Owen quote this week. I don't know if you've seen it, but he was talking about spoiling's much easier to do than creating things. He said, for example, you look at this beautiful house. I couldn't build this if you gave me as long as you wanted. But you give me 2 weeks, I'd make a good job at knocking it down. Fair play to Michael Owen, his humorous side's coming out. But that's kind of where I'm getting at, is that Jordan Rhodes did the most difficult thing in football and made it look bloody easy. You know, there's not many players that went through on goal. I think in my time watching Rovers, I did see Simon Gardner, I saw Speedy, but really, Alan Shearer went through on goal. You were surprised if he didn't score. If Alan Shearer had a shot, you were surprised if he didn't hit the target. Bradley Dack was the same. I think one-on-one, he was unbelievable. And I think he used to hit the target pretty much. His percentage of shots to hitting the target must have been unbelievable. And Jordan Rhodes was the other one. I think any three of them going through on goal, you'd be pretty comfortable. I just couldn't believe. I get that Rhodes couldn't fit into systems, and there was a spell for us where he was picking Gusted instead because he was doing more of a job for the team. But I just couldn't believe that he didn't score goals at Sheffield Wednesday, didn't score goals at Middlesbrough, because he just couldn't miss, could he, for us? He couldn't miss for Huddersfield. And it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a purple patch. This was somebody who just knew where the goal was and was cold as ice in front of it.
Brilliant player. He was someone that I remember seeing him score a few goals for Huddersfield. And I think he scored like 4 in a game, something like that. And I saw it come across Sky Sports News, and I was like, oh, what a player he would be to get hold of him. And then we got him, and then you start thinking, I just hope he does it for us. And it just kept scoring and scoring and scoring. And I remember being devastated when he left, because it was such an opportunity for us to really build and do something. And like you say, it's a very difficult position. Difficult thing to do in that position is to score so many goals, but he just had that instinct. And he said him and Rudy just knew exactly where to be, and the wingers knew exactly where he wanted the ball, and they just struck up this relationship. And this is what we're hoping for that happens with the likes of Good Johnson now, is that they start striking up a relationship and they just have this instinct together. And yeah, he was a brilliant player to watch. It's great to have him back. Hopefully he does manage to have a chat with a few strikers and give them a few tips on where to go. But no, it's great that he's had a great career, and it's great to have him back. But talking of players and what they can do, we've managed to build a relationship with someone, haven't we, about some scouting apps that we can potentially get our hands on and start feeding into our podcast. Mark, do you want to give us some more info on that?
Yeah, so we've got Jack Taylor-Jones, who runs, and I'll get the name right for you. So it's on Instagram is mainly, I think, where he is at the moment, but it's F_scout_social. He's a football scout, but he's also a Rovers fan, so he has a vested interest in this. He's built his own data analysis system, and we were going to insert some of it today. He sent us some of the stuff, but it just is that comprehensive. It would have been so unfair of us to put it in and not do it justice. He does some work on his own Instagram where he does analysis. He's going to be doing some YouTube videos and clips on them. There's one of Musa Baraji he talks about, but he's going to give us access to that so we can talk about people like when people say, oh, well, do you know what? Lewis Travis won more balls as a ball-winning midfielder. Well, actually, he will give us stats to prove or disprove those things. And it'll be interesting to look at some of those new players. So when we see, we look at Tavares and we look at Baraji and Taylor Gardner-Hickman and we want to compare them, we're going to have a look on this database, not overly, get involved in the stats. I love it, but it's not everybody's thing. But just to look at, if we're playing them as Hashi, for example, we could look at it, if we play him as an attacking midfielder, actually, where would he rank in that? It does become a little bit more complicated when the players have been in a different league. When you're comparing, you've got to take that into consideration. But when the more the season goes on, the more we get a body of work, we can look at people like Ohashi and Cantwell and say, well, actually, we think this one's more effective. Who actually is more effective? And maybe that will give us an insight sometimes when we can't understand why is somebody not playing. Well, actually, we know how database the club is, so that's where the insight comes in really useful, because this will give us a bit of an insight. But it's not a database that the clubs have on Y-Scout and other ones that they use. It's not a Football Manager one. This is somebody who's actually built it from actual real-life data as well. So it's unbelievable that he's letting us have access to it. To be fair to him, we're really grateful. We will try and as much as show you some of the stuff, and we'll use it on here. We will link him in because it's only right that he gets some following, and he deserves that. And if nothing else, he's a fellow Rovers fan, so give him a follow. So it's F_scout_social. We'll make sure we tag him in when we're using things. We'll retweet some of his stuff as well, just because we want to help another Rovers fan out, but also the stuff he's doing is bloody impressive.
No, exactly, and we do appreciate it. I checked out the email today, and I messaged you, didn't I, Mark? And I just said this deserves a lot of attention and respect before we start throwing it out there, because we intended on doing it today, but obviously we've got day jobs. We can't necessarily stop everything to just do this. So I started looking. I was like, do you know what? This is some incredible stats, and this is stuff that, and we love our stats. You know, we've done it previously, but to actually have this access is amazing. So to give it the respect it deserves, we're hopefully going to start introducing it next week. And taking it from there. But no, we do appreciate that. Make sure you do give him a follow and do all the good stuff there. But Mark, we've managed to talk for nearly an hour and 20 minutes on a podcast that I said right at the start was going to be light and have nothing to talk about.
We're just, it's a feat in itself. I've been trying to play the game of guess what Mike says all the time, and I've not worked it out. If anyone has, put it in the comments. Yeah. It's
I'll be honest, I've been very conscious to make sure I don't say certain things over and over, but I think there is a bingo card going around on repeating certain things.
I think you've been getting picked on a little bit recently, and I'm not having it.
No, that's all right.
You leave Mike alone. But yes, so I think what we need to be looking at here is we've got Saturday against Watford, Saturday against Ipswich, Saturday against Charlton. 3 games, 3 weeks, a week in between each of them. I need to see some points. I need to start getting this positivity back. It's a big, big period of time before the next international break, before the next break. We've got the likes of Swansea, Stoke, Coventry, Mike's favourite team, Sheffield United, Southampton. There's some points available. There's some games where I think, you look at it, you go, Watford away, Ipswich at home, Charlton away. They're not easy places to go. Tough. We've got to start getting some points. I want to be talking to you next week with at least a point and a performance, but I'd rather 3 points, and I couldn't give a hoot whether it went off someone's backside, and we didn't deserve it to some extent. Hopefully. Here we go.
Exactly. Well, before we leave, I'm going to give you a big what if, and you can put in the comments below what you think. But what if this works? What if these signings click? They've made the right decisions, the manager's right, and we start to get some results. That's what faith we're going to have. That's what we're hoping for. So we'll get behind the lads, we'll get behind the management, and in the next few weeks, all this will be a long memory, and we'll all be happy and we'll be looking up. I have faith. Mark has faith. Hopefully you do too. Put everything down below what you think of Rovers at the moment, what we've spoken about. Hopefully we'll mention a few next week, and hopefully we'll all be positive next week and we'll have some points on the board. But until then, have a great time.